Hello, and welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, my first commission, brought to you by Colibri Real Estate. I'm your host, Tina Lapp. I have been in real estate education for over 30 years, and I'm passionate about helping individuals enter and thrive in their careers.
Hey, welcome everybody. I'm Andrew Robinson, also with Colibri Real Estate. We're excited to have you join us for today's episode.
If you're someone who has been climbing the career ladder, but you're looking for a change, today's episode is for you. Join us and hear from Jess Bauer, who was 14 years into a highly successful career with Under Armour before she took the plunge to become a real estate agent and was a finalist in RAS Media's Rookie of the Year contest, closing an astounding 30 transactions in her first year. She brings insightful tricks for getting started in real estate and shares some of the challenges she faced, feeling like an imposter in a brand new career after leaving her full-time role in corporate America.
Welcome to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission, where we dive into real stories, big wins, and early lessons learned from highly successful rookie real estate agents and brokers. This is the series where we explore how real estate transforms lives, one home at a time, by sitting down each week with a new agent or broker who has found incredible success in their first year. Your hosts are instructors and leaders at Colibri Real Estate School, one of the largest real estate educators in the nation, where we focus on helping people like you get started or find continued success in their careers.
We are here today with Jess Bauer. Jess, will you take a moment to introduce yourself, where you live, what company you're with?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you for having me. My name is Jess Bauer. I live in Baltimore, Maryland. I am with the One Roof team at the Keller Williams Collective.
Thank you for being here with us, and congratulations on being a finalist for the Rookie of the Year. Jess, will you share with us what you were doing before you became a real estate agent?
Sure. Pretty quickly out of school, I got a job with Under Armour, which was local for us, and worked in their sports marketing department for 14 years. So when I left, I was running our collegiate sports marketing division.
That is such a cool job. I did hear a little bit about some of the fun things you did. So you have this career. What inspired you to pursue a career in real estate?
Do a total change. A lot changed during that 14-year span. And I got married. I have a 5-year-old and a 4-year-old right now, and a dog, and things are crazy and busy. And with that, wonderful career I had, I was traveling a good bit. And so I was looking for an opportunity where I could be more local, and looking for an opportunity to foster community in our local community. You know, as the kids get older, it's really nice to kind of be able to be immersed in your community, meet the local businesses, things like that, get to know people more as they start to she just started in elementary school, and you want to know other parents and be around for the parties and stuff. So we really have been thinking about it for a while, that I might make a change. So I actually got licensed in 2020, about a week or two before the pandemic. And then basically nobody was leaving their homes for a little bit there. So, and found out my second child was on the way. So I stayed and had some great other opportunities at Under Armour. And then it became the right time for us. And I left there and started real estate the end of 22, really looking to kind of own my own schedule and be home on weekends, at least locally in Maryland, a little bit more. So.
Yes. And so sort of leaving the more traditional corporate world to have a little bit more control of you, your family, your life, and balance. Was there a specific moment or person that came into play where you finally made that decision to make the change?
Well, so basically, I had thought about a career in real estate for years, even before I got licensed. I had used what's my team leader right now, Christina Elliott. So I used her to sell a home in Baltimore City when we were moving out to the county. And I was just so impressed with the way things went. And she made an effort to keep a relationship with my husband and I for those 7 years until I decided to make that change in real estate. And she kind of saw something and was like, have you thought about this? And she kind of planted that seed, I believe. And would check in with me, you know, a testament to how she runs her business too. It just keeps up with everybody. And so it was always kind of in the back of my mind. I thought about it, looked into it a couple times, and then something else would happen. I'd stay where I was. But yeah, she was kind of that turning point and was like, there will be a spot for you when we're ready. So yeah.
That sounds like a great influence for you. Mm-hmm. When you first went to get licensed, what was the process for you? I mean, you were still working at Under Armour. You didn't know you were pregnant yet. What got you off the couch, and how did you choose your school?
I really got the advice from her, and she was like, you could do it while you're still working. You can do the class independently online. And so at that point, I really wasn't aware of many different options, to be honest. And so she recommended the online group I did, and I had to basically build a schedule for myself of like get home from work. At that point, I had one child, and she was 1. So, you know, spend all the time with her, get the baby down, finish up work for the rest of the night, and then say like, I'm going to do this chapter tonight and this, and keep that going until I fell asleep and then kind of pick it back up. So it was really nice, blessing and curse, to have that flexibility, because there was the thought of like, do you go take an in-person 1 week, you know, course or something? And that wasn't what was going to be right for me. The opportunity, I think, to do the course online is fantastic with the flexibility. So I recommend it. I loved it.
About how long did it take you?
It took me, I spent probably a couple months doing it. You know, I did it, I would say, started in the fall. And so there were holidays, and that was a pretty busy work time for me too, and travel, which sometimes is good. I could do it on the plane. I could do it on the go. And I took that test in February. So,
were there, I mean, besides the fact that you found out you're pregnant with your second child, were there any challenges that you faced going through that process?
I think just the needing to, like, you know, you're the only one forcing yourself to do it, you know, and it's really easy to want to, once you have that minute to yourself at night, turn on a TV show or something and unplug your mind from the evening. If you're doing it while you're doing another job, or, you know, you're raising kids or doing whatever, you know, it's not necessarily something your eyes are ready to do at night and read and think and process and take notes. But so again, like a blessing and a curse to have that opportunity, the flexibility, but it's really just on you to regiment yourself into getting it done. And it was great for me to not put any pressure on a timeline of like, I have to take my test this day, or I left that open-ended, like giving myself a little bit of grace to say, like, if more stuff comes up at work, if I, you know, need to do this, I have flexibility to adjust my self-made schedule on that. So I like that a lot. But again, it can be hard too if you give yourself too much grace.
Well, Jess, it does take tremendous amount of discipline to get through the classes. I mean, that's not bad. You started in the fall, you're licensed by February, you give up some nights, but some nights you have to keep for your family. Like balancing all of that takes tremendous discipline. You did it, now you're licensed. What did you expect the first year?
I really didn't know what to expect, you know, to be honest, which isn't fairly different than it is today. You know, one part of real estate I love is things are different every day. You really don't know. Sometimes you can certainly anticipate, but you don't always know what you're going to walk up into in a transaction or an opportunity. And it's, you know, in the way of finding new business, it's continually putting yourself out there and stuff, you know, and trying to find that. But I feel like it's a very unexpected. And I went in there feeling a little bit like, I don't know how this is going to go. I just walked away from a really good opportunity and we'll see what this works, you know? And I had some really good family and friends encouraging me and saying, you know, you're a hard worker. You can get through it. And hey, there's also not pressure. If it doesn't work and it's not for you, like, you can go find the next thing. And that peace of mind helped. And I have friends who are also like, but what if it does work? Like, what if this is it, you know, and what if this is really, and that's what you have to focus on, like, take so much of the pressure off. But yeah, I really didn't know what to expect at all walking in.
So how long after you decided to dive in, you get your license, you were sort of doing your old job, jumping in here, how long till you got to your first closing table, till you earned your first commission?
So I got licensed in, what was that, February of 2020. I didn't end up doing anything with it, activating it until 22. So I actually needed to do all my continuing ed before I ever touched anything again, which wasn't terrible because I got to like revisit some of the things, go back through my notes that I took, you know, to take the exam and everything. And so I started on Christina's team in October of 22 and ended up leaving my job in May, and then saying like, I'm going to spend the summer with the kids. And then come fall, my husband was like, are we getting back to work? And so I started in October. And actually I feel like that was a little bit of like some of the slowdown from what I was hearing from some of the craziness. And so those months were just good learning opportunities and going to, you know, masterminds and classes and shadowing some of the other members of the team. And then I think I closed my first transaction in January or February of 23.
Yeah. Okay. Congratulations. So from the time you actually were active, which was the fall,
Yeah.
you know, it was about 4 or 5 months.
Mm-hmm.
Not bad at all. And then it just started from there. So anything, you know, when you're brand new in real estate, you're still trying to figure out how it all works, right? The transactions, who do you go to for what? Your clients, I'm sure, just all kinds of unique folks. Mm-hmm. Any funny experiences from your early days or memorable experiences from your early days while you were still learning?
Oh gosh, probably plenty. A tough one. One of my first ones, I had a lead. At the time, the team was doing some Zillow leads on the side too. And I had one of those. Oh God. And I booked the showing for the wrong day. And when I was like scrolling through and doing it and probably like so nervous. So that was an adventure. And, you know, to this day, never book a showing and don't double check the confirmation and check it again before we walk into the house. So, you know, and like what I would say to new agents entering this field is mistakes are going to happen. Like, we are humans. AI makes mistakes. So of course we're going to make mistakes. But just give yourself the grace. And when you do make one of those mistakes, make sure you learn from it. Make sure you take the time to pause, say, apologize for it if you need to, you know, own up to it always. And I think that's like the most human and what, like, your clients will just be like, I understand, it happens. I've had it happen on a listing. I had it happen recently. My sellers called me and they're like, there's people standing on our front porch. It's no showing. And they end up going up there. The agent called me and it's like, I'm so sorry. Like, life happens. Things get busy. You know, so you just own up to them, you learn from them, use them as growing opportunities. You know, I feel like if you're not failing at some things, you're not trying hard enough at times, you know, so I would just say, you know, process it, laugh about it later, maybe, and learn from it. But yeah, that was one of them. That was pretty terrible. I felt terrible about that. And I'm so embarrassed. Yeah. I'm sure there's others.
Well, and that's perfect. And I love your disposition. I like, it's great. And your attitude's great, but you're right. People make mistakes. It's okay. Yeah. And we're all human. I think your advice there was great, especially for new agents, but just in life in general.
Yeah.
As you were navigating through all this, who was your mentor? Did you have a support system to help you navigate through the first year or two?
Yeah. So I ended up joining what was at the time the Christina Elliott team. And Christina and her husband, Steve, ran this team. They still do. And we've changed names to the One Roof team. And they really are, I think, unique and were attractive to me because of how they handle their business. They create or care so much for their clients. And they are constantly on this loop of like analyze, dissect, systemize, and then like execute. So they have systems. They are revisiting them like all the time to say like, is that the best way to do that? Is that, so coming in and having the benefit of those systems, a strong operations team, to learn from, as well as Christina as an agent perspective, was super and is super helpful to this day. So she's really been a mentor to this. And some great partners in the business, a couple lenders who've been in the business for a long time, local lenders that I've had great relationships with who've helped kind of shepherd through some speed bumps on things. And, and we have a great relationship with the title company we work with. And some of these folks, and just networking in the business and taking every opportunity to learn, I think is so important. And learn from different perspectives too, because you're going to hear different ways of doing things and you have to figure out what's authentic to you and what's going to work for you. So, take it all in and adapt it to what works. But I think Christina's been a great mentor to me through a lot of this process.
It sounds like you really had a great brokerage that you worked for with lots of systems, but I imagine you still faced some challenges. What were some of the biggest challenges you faced in your first year?
Probably imposter syndrome. I came from a career where I had worked my way up and really knew what I was doing and knew the company, knew my clients well, they knew me. And it had nothing to do with real estate. And coming in, it was my personality, I really like to work hard and be good at things. And the fact of going into a role where there were a lot of things I didn't know what to expect, didn't know how I'd handle it, have to ask someone for help. That was really hard, because I think not in a sense that I can't ask for help, but in a sense of like how I felt in my confidence. And so, I think a lot of that was struggling with like imposter syndrome of like, am I going to be able to do this? I feel confident that I know I'll work as hard as I possibly can and I'll do the very best I can. But what if there's things I don't know? And then the implications of that, of like, could I do something to hurt, the transaction, or like those thoughts, and processing through those. And the way I feel like you combat those is just education and experience. And so it was going to, like I said, like I went to masterminds and did, research things. You're listening. Our team often on our weekly meetings will go through, we do like a more, so if there's anything like new somebody learned over the last week. So it's really listening to those things and trying to soak them in. Like maybe if it didn't apply to you in that moment, but it might in a month. And so education is what really I feel like helps combat that. So you could do either extra courses or just kind of listening and networking with folks to really help. Because I think you have to feel confident, and the only way to do that is to learn it and have that. And the experience through the transactions has certainly helped that too. But yeah, that was tough. It was finding my footing in that, where I was like, it's been a while since I just felt so unsure, so.
Well, clearly you figured it out and you're no longer an imposter.
Well,
hopefully not in your head anymore either.
Thank you. It's better. Can be a scary place out there sometimes, though.
So, Jess, how did you market yourself as a new agent? You're now newly licensed. Like, how did you establish credibility? What's some of the marketing you did that was successful?
Yeah, our team does a lot of events, but like I mentioned before, I think everything has to be authentic to you, and so I, on my own, have done events too in our community because that was something that was important to me to build. So I did a couple times. I've done a coffee truck at our daycare where set it up in the morning for a couple hours and just greeted people in the morning, and they could come up and order a latte or something and take it with them to work. And the teachers and everybody, staff who works in the daycare. This weekend, I'm doing a toy drive for the local community and going to bring all the toys down to Mount Washington Pediatric Hospital. So send everybody kind of newsletters and said, hey, I'm using a coffee truck there too, and come get your Sunday morning coffee with me. And if you drop off a toy, I'll buy you a coffee. I just did a private shopping night for a bunch of girlfriends at a boutique, and we did, some snacks and champagne, and they shopped, and there's discounts. And so it's really just I like finding things that I feel like are providing a service to my client base. We also, the beautiful sunflower fields you get in like August, September, we set up family pictures there and did like 5-minute mini photo shoots because I was like, oh, I really like to do that with my kids. So like, again, just finding something and thinking of something you can do for your clients. That's just a nice to do. And obviously you get those couple moments to visit with them, find out how things are going, if they know anybody, and try and always bring it back to that too at times. And, I think it's got to be, things that reflect you or authentic to you that you're enjoying doing, because people know when you're not enjoying it and when you don't want to be doing it. And I like doing it around, my local neighborhoods and community.
Well, I was going to ask, did you have sort of a target audience or a group? And it sounds like certainly your neighborhood and the schools, the daycare. So just any other comments about the audiences that you were sort of targeting?
Yeah. So the team, and brokerage that I joined is actually in a different county. And again, I went there because they were the people I wanted to learn from and that I trusted and liked how they did business. But certainly that lends me to driving and, wasting a lot of time in the car. So I am trying to be a little bit more hyper-local with my particular marketing. And also a lot of the neighborhoods that I was kind of targeting with some of those mailers and activities were like 90s style homes. So that they're probably mostly empty nesters who are probably looking to move on and downsize. So, thinking when you get those folks, you hopefully get a buy and a sell too, and they might be ready to go. So that's kind of been the strategy.
Wow. And so many great ideas there. I love hearing these stories. Is there anything in particular you think really led to your success in your first year? Like if you could say, what's the one thing that you think led to your success the first year? What do you think it was?
I really think, any successful rookie, it's the team they're surrounded with, and their cheering section, which is my family, my friends, but my team with the operations team who helps support me through my transactions, my team leader, mentor, and then for me personally, I kind of came into it with a very much just head down work ethic, and I don't spend a lot of time trying to worry about any of the noise or any too much drama. I am here to work and support my clients. And then I put pencils down and spend time with my family. And so it's really kind of that. And that's reflective of how I was raised. My parents, they are hard workers, and that's just the nature, I feel like, of it. And I don't do great at, letting things go undone before going to bed or whatnot. I'm working on setting some boundaries. But yeah, so I think that's all those are in the soup.
Yeah. Okay. That's great. And so how do you build relationships with a new client? Like you get someone, they're interested. How do you build and maintain that relationship?
I think listening, looking at that relationship like a friendship in the sense of like, I want to listen to them. I want to hear what's important to them, what they need. And then I reflect on that a lot of like, how could I help and add value to the search? I'm not just there to open a door for them or whatnot. Like, so, hey, I heard you like this, or I know you have a dog. There's a dog park near here, or what, and oftentimes I feel like those are the moments that impact them. They're like, oh, I can't really remember that thing, they make feel like you're invested in it because you are, and you should be. So I think that like, yeah, I really just build trust early in those first, we make a big effort too that the first time we meet with a client shouldn't be to show a house. It should be like a long strategy session in person or Zoom if we have to. We hear about everything they're looking for, and then we tell them all about us and how we operate, and tell them about us personally, about the team, introduce the faces that they might see, talk about the buy process or the sell process, whichever one applies. Make sure that they understand how everything works, and then tell them that we're going to go through those again as we're at each step. I think all of that achieves so much. It helps combat some roadblocks or confusion later on, but it also helps build that trust that I think you need to do so importantly. So like first, but yeah.
Clearly, you have figured some things out because you did 30 transactions in your first year. Are there any stories that stand out to you, client interactions in that first year that you'd like to share with us?
I don't know. Seeing like the emotion on people's faces sometimes when you help them, like especially buy their first home. I had a really sweet woman, single mom that I helped, and her mom was moving down to be with her. And she was like crying. It was just so great to see how excited and proud of her daughter she was, and excited for her. And her daughter's so excited of this accomplishment. Just those moments, I think, really stand out to you. I've had a couple of clients where they're like, you're laying out some options and things that they could, pursue, or here's what we could do, A, B, or C. And they're like, we trust you. You tell us, like, what's the best way to do that? Those moments where you're like, okay, this feels, or like, I remember the beginning of this year, I had a couple referrals come in from my clients in my first year. And I was like, that's so special. It felt like so special that they were so happy with their experience, and they went out of their way to share about me to someone they care about, and they will want to have a good experience. And to kind of, to refer someone's hard sometimes. Like if somebody's like, hey, do you like your painter or something? And you're like, oh, I hope they don't mess up for you. Like it's just hard. And so it means so much. I feel like when people go out of their way to share about that. And so I think those were some really special moments that I've had. And really just, yeah, I love working with people. That was part of when I thought for a while about what I wanted to do after leaving Under Armour, a big part of what I was doing that role was, servicing our top accounts and building that trust, those relationships was something I didn't want to lose. I like working with people. I like talking with people. I like connecting with people. And so that has been so rewarding in this process too, and been so special.
Well, hopefully those experiences were nails in the coffin of your imposter syndrome, right? People trusting you, you're changing their lives. All the things that you would hope to see in yourself. So you're a couple years into this new journey. Are you looking back at with any regrets at Under Armour? And if not, what do you see yourself doing in 5 years?
Yeah, I think no, I think this in the sense of I miss the people, I miss the environment, and the energy of that company. It's a fabulous company, but no, I think this was the right move for me and for my family. I watch sports again with just being a spectator, which is fun. And so, in 5 years in this industry, I'd like to be, in a position where I can help, more agents grow and our new agents. We're in that community work that I like and building community. I think it's really fun to kind of niche down into your local community, because I think that's special for your kids too. And just, it's nice to know people when they're growing up and be able to be around and support.
Yeah, you're a great example for your children. Do you have any tips or tricks that you'd like to share with aspiring real estate agents who might be listening?
Be as organized as you can. I take a lot of notes. I write a lot of things down because a lot of stuff can come at you at one time. You can be going on your day working on something and something goes sideways on a transaction and that's left undone, so I put pins in things. I would say stay hungry. And stay humble too. That was an Under Armour phrase, actually. I just quoted that. It's ingrained in my mind. But I think it's a lot to be said for that. I think ego gets in the way of some things sometimes. And I think you keep the person inside and the person who wants to help, and you keep authentic to that. And you will do well if you are working truly to help folks and hard. You will do well, and get ready to put miles on your car, stuff like that.
It's great advice. It's great advice. So, Jess, we're going to go into a lightning round. This is just casual. We're going to ask you a couple questions, answer in 60 seconds or less. Does not all have to be real estate related, just getting to know you a little more. Mm-hmm. So what's a book that you've read that you would recommend to the audience?
I haven't read a lot of books recently, to be honest. I just got one, an Adam Grant book, Hidden Potential, that I'm excited to read. I've been doing a ton of podcasts because I've been in the car a lot lately. So I've been doing a lot of podcasts. I used to do a book club, but since changing industries too, I've been a little more kind of dialed in and focused. I do have a nice stack on my bedside table, though, that I did make as my goal for next year. So I'm trying to think about one of the last ones I read. I read Matthew McConaughey's Green Lights, and that was kind of fun, and just a good opportunity to go after things and listen through your journey. And so I like that. That was good.
Yeah.
I don't know.
The podcasts are good too, to your point, as you're driving around, putting those miles on your car. Yeah. It's a great time to pick up on some podcasts. So if we had a time machine and you could go back to when you started this journey, what advice would you give yourself, or what might you do differently?
I would be more gentle with myself. I would say, don't be so hard on yourself as you're learning. It will happen. It will, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you are putting in the effort and the work. Don't waste so much time and energy on the imposter syndrome and things like that. And just say, go for it. Probably go for it earlier.
Yeah. If you could have dinner with one person, dead or alive, who would it be and why?
I would pick Jimmy Buffett. I love Jimmy Buffett. I think he has a great attitude in life. He doesn't take anything too seriously. Went to plenty of concerts when he was around. But yeah, just he's obviously works hard with all the concerts and all things, but has plenty of fun doing it. And I think those two are not mutually exclusive. So I love that attitude too of kind of work hard, play hard, be yourself. Don't take anything too seriously. Everybody else is taken, so be yourself. Kind of attitude.
I like that a lot. I like it a lot.
We'd have lunch on a boat.
That sounds wonderful. That sounds wonderful.
Wow.
I'd love an invite. If you ever
done.
So what did you do at work yesterday? And yesterday was probably different being a weekend, but talk about a typical day, maybe Friday or Saturday.
Yeah, I was gonna say yesterday was actually my birthday, and I did do a little work because my daughter helped me stuff envelopes for a mailer, so put her to work a little bit. But typical day, we have certain meetings that are set in our week. If it's one of those, but I usually get up. I try to get up before anyone in my house does, so that I can get downstairs and do some exercise. That kind of grounds my day. Then once they're up, spend, an hour at what do we get? An hour and a half before people are on the bus or out the door. And then it's right to the computer. If I don't have an appointment that I need to get to, and it's going through kind of some of the searches, looking at some of the things that are coming to my clients' inboxes so I can make sure if they give me a call, I know what's going on. Write back to any emails, scroll through kind of like what's going on all my transactions, figure out where we are, what we need to do. And usually if it's the beginning of the week, I write out, because I like to do it on paper, like my physical week, so I can see it somewhere on my desk that week. And then just start getting through the day, making some interactions with clients, and getting out to the appointments, and before the kids are back.
And it's a nice balance with the kids. So where can listeners or viewers connect with you to follow your journey?
I probably do the most on Instagram, which is Jess.Bauer, which is BAUER _realtor. And most of that connects, if people like Facebook more, most of that connects to Facebook and stuff. But I like the opportunity that social gives you to put personality behind, who you are in your business. And I wish I did more and did better, but I'm trying and it's good. It's good. I find it easy to do and then, local things going on and all, but yeah, I enjoy that.
Jess, thank you for sharing your experiences with us and for being so open with your self-doubt early in your journey. I know your story is going to be inspiring for other people starting their careers and for anybody who might be facing some imposter syndrome themselves. We appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in to Unlocking Real Estate, My First Commission. We hope today's stories and insights inspired you to take that next step in your real estate journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode, or head over to our channel to see some of the other content we've produced. We'd also love to hear from you. Drop a comment below with your biggest takeaway or a question for our next guest. If you have a recommendation for someone we should interview, please send a note to unlockingrealestate@colibrirealestate.com.